Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, welcome to the 24th Annual LULAC National Legislative Awards Gala. LULAC's first ever virtual Legislative Awards Gala. Tonight, we celebrate three outstanding honorees: Congressman Filemon Vela, Congressman Raul Ruiz, and the Honorable Stacey Abrams. We will also present a special recognition to Luisa Tapia and LULAC Presidential Medal of Honor recipients Carrie, Ricci, and Queta Rodriguez. We also pay special tribute to LULAC programs that have emerged over the last year in the face of adversity and the pandemic. Tonight, you will hear from LULAC leadership, President Domingo Garcia, and CEO Cindy Benavides, special guest speaker New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and our keynote speaker, the Honorable Deb Haaland. Now, allow me the honor of introducing our host for this evening. Arely Morales Perez is an Emmy Award-winning art and entertainment producer and reporter. This multi-talented Bolivian star, who is a social media influencer and model, is also a cancer survivor. LULAC is honored to have this powerfully resilient woman co-host this evening's virtual gala alongside the energetic creative filmmaker and producer of BuzzFeed's Pero Like, Mr. Eli Vasquez. Thank you, Eli and Arely, for being here with us tonight.
Buenas noches. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the 24th Annual LULAC National Legislative Awards Gala in the 92nd anniversary of LULAC, which was formed on February 17, 1929. I'm very honored to be your co-host for this evening alongside the multi-talent Boricua, Eli Vasquez. Un abrazo y un beso en la distancia, Eli.
Thank you, Arely, and I am so honored to co-host this evening's gala with you. The first ever, y'all, the first ever. If you're watching this event, if you're part of this event, you are a part of history because this is the first ever virtual Legislative Awards Gala LULAC has ever held. Now, despite the current circumstances in our nation and around the world that call upon us to socially distance, tonight's gala is a celebration of unity, to support one another, and a true testament that even during the most uncertain times, we can rise together as a community, as a nation, and as a world.
That's right, Eli. Somos juntos y somos fuertes, whether we are in the same room or connected via social media and online platforms. There is still so much to celebrate and be thankful for. LULAC's National Legislative Awards Gala has historically honored some of the most distinguished, talented, and hardworking individuals who have dedicated their lives to creating a change inspired by those who have been walked before them and building a better foundation and future for our next generation to come.
Yes, and tonight is no different. We will honor individuals that have displayed leadership and success, those who inspire and lead by example and encourage others to do the same. Through gratitude, faith in ourselves and humankind, we are all able to achieve great things.
Yes, and LULA is an example of those things in action. Tonight we'll also recognize and celebrate the work LULA has done in the face of the adversity over the last year. One of the most challenging years that many of us have ever experienced in this lifetime. Not only with the pandemic, but also with the systematic racism that has been on the full display for all the world to see. LULAC answered the call despite the difficulties of this time. After all, that's why LULAC was founded 92 years ago, the oldest and largest grassroots civil rights organization for the Hispanic population in the United States. And Puerto Rico was formed to defend and serve our communities nationwide, especially during the most tumultuous times, giving a voice to those often silenced.
Tonight, we'll place a spotlight on LULAC's work to bring justice to Vanessa Guillen and other military veterans. We'll also see how the organization answered the call to fight for the Latino community who has been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. And more specifically, how LULAC has used its national and international platform to advocate for the safety of agricultural, meatpacking, and essential frontline workers during this pandemic. Most recently, LULAC wasted no time in speaking out in the defense of the meatpacking workers in Gainesville, Georgia, after a nitrogen leak claimed the lives of 6 individuals. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families. Now, there's still so much work to be done. So much work. And now is the time, right now, for you to join LULAC in the fight for justice, equality, and inclusion for the Latino community. So now everyone, we're going to get a little interactive with this. I want everyone to pull out their phones, because this is the time where you can make an impact. That's really important. So pull out your phones, and I want y'all to text LULAC, that's LULAC, to 52886. And there you can complete your sign up, receive updates, information on how to take action right now today. So this is going to be like one of those infomercials. I'm really going to hit you with it, because this is the time we all you got to put the work in. So I'm going to hit it with you again. Text LULAC to 52886 and complete your sign up there to get updates, information on how to take action. So please take a moment now to sign up.
Thank you, Lai. I just signed up. After all, it takes a unified front to truly see change happen. LULAC would like to take this time to acknowledge and thank the sponsor that made this event possible: NBC Universal, Comcast, Telemundo, Charter Communications, T-Mobile, 1-800-CONTACTS, and Herbalife. And presenting sponsor, AT&T. Thank you for your support. And thank you again to everyone who is joining us this evening.
Now please stand and welcome the Isleta High School JRTC Color Guard from El Paso, Texas. And please remain standing for our national anthem performed by one of the most powerful female voices in regional Mexican music, Helen Ochoa, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, recited by Relina Cardona, LULAC's National Vice President from the Northeast, and the LULAC prayer, which will be led by the LULAC National Chaplain, Emma Lozano.
It has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our events by presenting the colors, playing of the national anthem, and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please stand for the presentation of the colors, the playing of the national anthem, and reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance? Please remain standing until the cadets have departed. The colors tonight are being presented by the Junior ROTC Color Guard from Isleta High School. The Color Guard Commander and carrying the United States flag is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ethan Swan. Carrying the Texas flag is Cadet Sergeant First Class Candy Mosqueda. The left guard is Cadet Sergeant Ismael Ibarra. The right guard is Cadet Master Sergeant Jason Martinez.
Present. Oh.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Forward. Right. Right. Forward. March. Left. Right. Left. Left.
Compañeras y compañeros, let us lift up in prayer all those who were lost during the devastating pandemic. Let us honor our LULAC leaders that are no longer with us. We remember them as the LULAC Gallery of Angels who live on as part of our LULAC legacy, and forever they are etched in our hearts and minds of LULAC members for generations to come. Felicidades, LULAC, on your 92nd anniversary. Now please bow your heads and join me in our traditional and fitting LULAC prayer. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable industries, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people, the multitudes brought hither out of many kindred and tongues. Imbue the spirit of wisdom, those to whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law, we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In the name of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness. In the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail. All of which we ask through Jesus Christ, our Lord, and we all say, Amen.
As the pandemic continues, claiming the lives of 1,000 of Americans each day, LULAC would like to take a moment to remember LULAC members who lost their lives to COVID-19.
Our hearts and prayers go out to all the families who have lost loved ones due to COVID-19. Now, please help me in welcoming LULAC's National President, Domingo Garcia.
2020 has been a very difficult year for LULAC as well as for most Americans. But hopefully we will see that we're going to make sure that your familia and our LULAC familia stays safe, thrives, and moves forward in these difficult and terrible times. We need your help as LULAC partners to make sure that we provide those opportunities and that social justice that many of our people are fighting for. So Jose and Maria, LULAC's been their voice since 1929 till the present. And we continue to ask and work with anybody who wants to meet that goal of making sure that equal opportunity, that social justice, that civil rights and the dreams and aspirations of every young man, woman, and child are met by this country, and that the Statue of Liberty lives up to its credo. And we are here as LULAC to make sure that we are standing by everybody with liberty and justice for all. Buenas noches.
Thank you, President Garcia. LULAC is proud to welcome our special guest speaker, New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
Hi, it's Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and I'm so pleased to join LULAC's virtual legislative gala. I want to thank LULAC's National President, Domingo Garcia, CEO Cindy Benavides, Board of Directors, and staff for all that you do to support the Latino community. That support has been especially critical over the last 4 years, which saw an unprecedented, often unthinkable attack on the Latino community from the White House, and a pandemic that, like all crises, has hit communities of color the hardest. COVID has shone a spotlight on and magnified the inequities in our society, and I see it as my responsibility as a legislator to address them from the root. Having LULAC as a partner makes all the difference. I know together we will keep fighting for policies that will lift up the Latino community, from immigration and election reform to paid family leave and a $15 minimum wage. I look forward to continuing working with all of you to make sure everyone has a seat at the table during those discussions, because our democracy only works when every voice is heard. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your gala.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Now, to kick off the awards portion of our program, please welcome our first presenter of the evening, speaking on behalf of his mother, Celeste Sanchez, Luis Sanchez.
I'm honored to make this presentation on behalf of my mother, Celeste Sanchez, as she recovers from emergency surgery. Congressman Vela's roots run deep in South Texas. He represents the 34th Congressional District of Texas, which includes Brownsville, where he was raised. His ancestors purchased land from the McAllen family to establish the Laguna Seca Ranch, where the first citrus orchard in Hidalgo County was planted. His father, Filemon Vela Sr., was appointed by President Jimmy Carter as one of the first Hispanic federal judges, presiding over the Southern District of Texas. Congressman Vela's mother, Blanca Sanchez Vela, served as the first and to this day, the only female mayor of Brownsville. So living life as a dedicated public servant is deep in Congressman Vela's DNA. His passion for public service grew from his work of more than 20 years as an attorney in South Texas, helping individuals seek justice in state and federal courts. In Congress, Vela has been a strong advocate for immigrant rights, education programs, and community health centers. He is currently focused on bringing jobs and economic development to South Texas through many efforts, including transforming the Port of Brownsville into a competitive deepwater port. In January, President Joe Biden announced that Congressman Vela will serve as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, along with Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. I am honored to present Congressman Filemon Vela with LULAC's Freedom and Justice Award. Congratulations, Congressman.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to join you all tonight at the 24th Annual LULAC National Legislative Awards Gala. I'm deeply humbled to be the recipient of this year's Freedom and Justice Award. Thank you to LULAC for this honor. For almost a century, you all have done the important work helping pave the way for countless change makers and pushing for policies and programs that benefit Latinos across our nation. You have made a significant difference for minority communities in our country and have inspired so many people. And to Domingo Garcia, the very man spearheading this organization, thank you for your leadership and friendship throughout the years. The past year has been challenging, to say the least. This once-in-a-lifetime pandemic has infected tens of millions of Americans and has stolen nearly 500,000 lives. Families are suffering from a worsening economic crisis. Millions of Americans are out of work, There is an unconscionable amount of food and housing insecurity. School closures threaten our children's education, and our most vulnerable communities are beating the brunt of these twin crises as underlying health and economic inequities grow. In fact, the disproportionate effect the pandemic has had on Latino and other minority communities has been staggering. Roughly 1 in 3 Latino families have experienced a job loss in their households, straining their financial resources. Additionally, Latinos are more likely to become infected with this deadly virus than other groups because many individuals work in essential sectors like the meat processing industry. Take, for example, the state of Texas. Latinos make up 40% of the state's population, but nearly 50% of COVID-19 deaths. The countless lives cut short by this horrific pandemic is unacceptable, and my condolences go out to all who have lost a loved one during these difficult times. Despite the adversities, Latinos have continued to heroically show up to fight on the front lines to serve our nation. They keep our nation running by serving as healthcare workers in hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes, line workers at grocery stores and warehouses, farm workers, firefighters, law enforcement, teachers, and government officials. The list of essential roles Latinos fill does not end there. Latinos are a force to be reckoned with, and as of last month, we now have an administration that recognizes this and is willing to support efforts that better our community. These next 4 years, we can expect to see efforts to improve our nation's economy so that everyone has a shot at the American dream, healthcare policies that ensure quality, affordable healthcare is a right, investments in education to ensure that our incomes or zip codes don't determine our children's future, and finally, this new administration will work to advance policies that fix our broken immigration system so that we treat our hard-working immigrant families with the dignity and respect they deserve. In Congress, I am committed to doing my part. 1/4 of all children in the U.S. are Latino, and it is clear that our nation's success depends upon the success of our community. Latino issues are American issues. We have a tremendous amount of work to do these next several months, but juntos we can build back. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Vela. And again, congratulations on your well-deserved honor. To present our second award of the evening, please welcome LULAC Council 3084 member Elizabeth Cepeda.
Congressman Raul Ruiz went from being the child of farmworker parents in Coachella, California, to graduating magna cum laude from UCLA, to becoming the first Latino to earn 3 graduate degrees from Harvard University. He is the epitome of the American dream. Dr. Ruiz is no stranger to accolades. Immediately following the 2010 earthquake that devastated Haiti, he served as the medical director for the JP Haitian organization and received the Commander's Award for Public Service from the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division. Dr. Ruiz continued his work as an emergency room doctor until he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2012. He represents California's 36th district and serves on the House, Energy, and Commerce Committee. Following the January 6th breach to the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., by pro-Trump supporters, Congressman Ruiz tested positive for COVID-19 when congressional leaders were forced to enter lockdown during the Capitol siege. Officials say they may have been exposed to the virus. He has documented his journey with COVID-19 on social media and is successfully on his road to recovery. Tonight, I am honored to present the National Legislative Award to Congressman Raul Ruiz.
Hello, I'm Congressman and Dr. Raul Ruiz. I represent California's 36th Congressional District and I am Chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I'm honored to be here for the 24th Annual National Legislative Awards Gala. I'd like to thank LULAC President Domingo Garcia for nominating me for this incredible honor. Congratulations also to Congressman Filemon Vela and the Honorable Stacey Abrams for your achievements, and thank you for your work on behalf of Hispanic Americans everywhere. And thank you all for being here today. Since growing up the son of farm workers in the Coachella Valley in rural Southern California, I have witnessed the challenges and hardships and the brilliance and resolve of Hispanic Americans every day. I have seen the enormous obstacles climbed and the systematic barriers that Latinos and Latinas have overcome to accomplish great achievements for themselves, their families, and their communities. Whether we're talking about the economy, healthcare, climate change, or immigration, it is indisputable that Latinos face great burdens, challenges, and disparities across our country. The COVID-19 pandemic has magnified those disparities for everyone to see. In California, for example, Hispanics represent 39% of the population, but make up 55% of COVID-19 cases. In Washington, Latinos make up 13% of the population, but 32% of COVID-19 cases. In regards to vaccines, in Nevada, Hispanics received only 4% of the vaccinations, despite making up 24% of infectious cases. The disparities go beyond infection and vaccination rates. They extend to health, healthcare access, education, economic opportunity, housing, environmental justice, and much more. From our COVID-19 response to our immigration policy, from our economic recovery to our healthcare policies, we must come together to rectify these inequalities, safely, rapidly, and equitably end the pandemic, and continue fighting to build a system that puts equity at the forefront and does not leave communities of colors behind. That's why we need your voice, your story, and your continued advocacy to usher in lasting changes for Hispanic Americans across the country. LULAC has a strong history of leadership and advocacy for Latinos across America. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus shares your values and mission. Together, we can ensure the promise of America is accessible to the 60 million Hispanics living in this great nation today. Thank you again for this honor. I am so glad to have partners like you and LULAC alongside me in the fight for justice, progress, and equity in our great nation. Thank you.
Congratulations, Congressman Ruiz. We're pleased to hear you're feeling better. Tonight's program would not be possible without LULAC's longtime partners. Speaking on behalf of our presenting sponsor, AT&T, please welcome Chief Diversity Officer Corey Anthony.
Hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Corey Anthony, and I am the Chief Diversity and Development Officer at AT&T. We are honored to sponsor the 24th Annual LULAC National Legislative Awards Gala. On behalf of AT&T, I want to congratulate LULAC on its 92nd anniversary and thank National President Domingo Garcia and CEO Cindy Benavides for their leadership in giving me the opportunity to speak today. Nearly a year into the pandemic, we've begun to acclimate to some of the changes we've had to make, like today's virtual awards program, but also the everyday task of masking up and maintaining social distance whenever we leave our homes. These changes are meant to keep us safe, but also serve as a constant reminder that life is different. Turning the calendar to 2021 has not changed that reality, but I see many reasons to be hopeful about the year to come. We recently celebrated the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. With the new administration comes a new set of priorities, and this year has shown us how much work we still have to do to advance equity in the Hispanic, Latino, and other diverse communities. COVID-19 continues to be one of the most important issues we're facing as a country, and we've seen the toll it's taken on these communities. The pandemic also revealed and accelerated another inequity, the digital divide. With the shift to learn and work from home, millions of children are unable to access the education they need to support digital learning. As one of the largest internet providers in the country, we recently committed $10 million to support at-risk students disconnected from learning with internet connectivity and Wi-Fi hotspots. Beyond the digital divide, the company remains committed to advocating for immigration reform, which I know is an issue of critical importance to the Hispanic and Latino community. We celebrated when the Supreme Court upheld DACA last year, allowing nearly 700,000 young immigrants to continue to study and work in the U.S. AT&T will continue to advocate for policies that create a permanent solution on the legal status of DACA recipients, some of whom we count amongst our own workforce. While I'm proud of the steps we've taken at AT&T and the great work our teams have done, I recognize that there is more work to do, and we are excited to meet the challenge of the moment. In 2019, we signed the Hispanic Promise, the first of its kind national pledge to hire, promote, train, and retain Hispanic employees in the workplace. We recognize having the right people in our company will only propel us forward as we continue to address equity issues. Look, I'm grateful for the guidance and partnership of LULAC members and leaders whose wisdom has helped us shape our platforms and promises. AT&T has a duty to fulfill as a corporate leader, and we look forward to working with you to accomplish our shared goals in 21 and beyond. From all of us at AT&T, thank you, and here is to future success.
Thank you, AT&T. Now please welcome back LULAC National President Domingo Garcia.
Vanessa Guillen, a young lady, volunteered to serve her country, 20 years old, who was murdered on a base. Nobody cared, but her family did. And they called LULAC, and LULAC heard the call. And we put out a $25,000 reward for anybody leading information leading to any arrest in her disappearance. Unfortunately, she was found, but those changes resulted in the Secretary of the Army meeting with LULAC and our members and making changes to protect women and men who serve our military from sexual harassment and criminal activities while on base. We're also working to make sure that Fort Hood be named for Sergeant Roy Benavides, Medal of Honor winner, and somebody who deserves that honor.
LULAC will never forget 20-year-old Army Private Vanessa Guillen. Her tragic disappearance and death was at the hands of a fellow soldier at Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas. Vanessa Guillen disappeared in April 2020 after being called to report into the base on her day off. For weeks, the family and community demanded answers from the Army. At first, Fort Hood leaders said she was voluntarily missing. This was despite her family stating publicly Vanessa had shared concerns and fear about mistreatment at Fort Hood, even though she loved the Army. LULAC members in Killeen stepped into action to support the family and began a relentless community drumbeat outside the gates of Fort Hood every week to remind every passerby Vanessa was still missing. A mural and the hashtag I am Vanessa sparked a national outcry that the Army could not ignore. Neither could it deny the power of a mother's heartfelt plea, LULAC at her side, bring my daughter back alive. The movement to find Vanessa reached a crescendo, and in the hot days of last July, Vanessa's remains were found in shallow graves along a nearby river. The national outrage that followed led to LULAC demanding and getting an historic meeting at the Pentagon with the Secretary of the Army and members of Congress. An independent review committee was formed, including 2 members selected by LULAC, to investigate conditions at Fort Hood, which led to 70 reform actions being issued. Today, LULAC is demanding our men and women in Army uniform are safe from racial or gender-motivated attacks, abuse, or mistreatment, also to increase the number of Latino officers in the Army. Vanessa Guillen lives on in our hearts and in the spirit of LULAC's actions. May she rest in peace, and let it be known, in this work, we each declare proudly, I am Vanessa. Please welcome 2 Presidential Medal recipients who worked with LULAC in the fight for Vanessa Guillen, Carrie Ricci from the Office of the General Counsel of the USDA, and Queta Rodriguez, a retired captain of the U.S. Marine Corps.
First and foremost, I want to give my thanks, my sincere and deepest thanks to LULAC, an organization that I have admired for my entire life, really. And that's the oldest and most widely respected Hispanic serving organization. For me, this is a pinch me moment. I also want to thank Cindy Benavides, who first contacted me and ushered through my nomination to serve on the Fort Hood Independent Review Committee. It was truly the assignment of my life to serve on that committee. It was an honor, and it was one that I took very, very seriously. I also want to thank my fellow committee members who just demonstrated the highest integrity in everything they did. We went about our tasks very diligently. We had many, many long hours, many long days. We worked over weekends. We did everything we could to make sure that we left no stone unturned and that we gave to the Army an exact view of what was happening at Fort Hood. And I believe that our work speaks for itself and that it has given the Army a new path to follow, a more positive path. I love the Army, but it does have a dark side with sexual assault and sexual harassment. And I believe it is on a better path now. I also want to thank the soldiers who continue to protect our democracy and who deserve better than the circumstances that we uncovered. And finally, I want to thank the family of Vanessa Guillen, the family that has not stopped fighting to make sure that no other soldier has to endure the harassment that they believe their daughter endured. Because of their efforts, we're able to be here today and know that the Army has been able to face their darkest moments and that they are moving forward with a much better way for those soldiers. I believe truly they're on the right path. Finally, I also want to just share that if you know of anyone in the military who is facing sexual assault or sexual harassment, or if you yourself are a service member who is in need of help, there are resources out there. It's not something that you should go alone. There are toll-free hotlines for Army. It's called SHARP, S-H-A-R-P. And for any other service, you can also search for the toll-free number, and it's also a confidential number to report sexual assault and sexual harassment. If you feel you're not getting the right help, you should also talk to an inspector general. Those numbers can be Googled as well, and those can be confidential and anonymous if needed. And last, there are many ways to get assistance with any kind of if you're feeling that you need to talk to someone. It's often called behavioral health or mental health. It's not a negative thing to seek assistance for something that's troubling you that's as serious as that. And I spoke with many, many soldiers at Fort Hood, and there were so many who were not aware of the resources available. But there are at least 3 different ways that service members can get assistance. And one of them is very anonymous because it's not reported to the military services, and that's through the Department of Defense Military One Source. You can receive counseling services in that way. So I hope that most of all, if anyone sees this that does need help, that you know you're not alone and that you have many resources available, please do get the help that you need. And again, I am truly believe that the Army is on the right path and that change is coming. Thank you again to LULAC and just for this amazing honor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to Domingo, to Cindy, and all of LULAC National leadership for this incredible and humbling recognition. Hola y saludos a todos. Les quiero dar las gracias a Domingo, a Cindy y a todos los de LULAC por todo lo que han hecho y siguen haciendo para nuestras familias, nuestras comunidades y nuestra nación. Es un gran honor estar aquí con ustedes. I want to thank LULAC for their leadership, for everything that you have done and continue to do for our nation's families, our communities, and for our country. As someone who served in the United States Marine Corps for 20 years, I know that fundamental to leadership is taking care of those that you lead. And I want to thank LULAC for demonstrating extraordinary leadership and ensuring that the young men and women of our nation's armed forces are taken care of and that their welfare and their well-being is put first and foremost. As a member of the Fort Hood Independent Review Committee, I am extremely honored to have had the experience and to have been in a position to be able to make recommendations that we are optimistic will result in positive change for those at Fort Hood, across the Army, and across all of our nation's armed forces. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the family of Vanessa Guillen for their perseverance and their insistence on achieving justice. It is because of their extraordinary efforts that young men and women across our military will be able to have the type of leadership that they deserve. I want to thank you all again for everything that you do and continue to do, and I wish you all much success. Thank you.
Please help me welcome tonight's National Service Award recipient, Luisa Tapia.
Thank you to my LULAC family for all your support and standing in solidarity. Thank you to everyone from across the nation that came out and added their voice to be heard in a peaceful protest. Our fight is not over. We will refuse to let Vanessa's memory be forgotten. In fact, our fight has just begun. We will continue to pursue legislation that protects all service members from sexual harassment and sexual assault. Every family has a right to know their service member is protected, and every service member has a right to dignity. LULAC will not turn a deaf ear to corruption, injustice, or abuse. The work of LULAC began in 1929, and the mission is not over. It is up to every one of us to do our part and build a better tomorrow, starting with me and starting with you. Muchas gracias. Thank you for this award, and our work shall continue.
Congratulations to the Presidential Medal of Honor recipients Carrie, Ricci, and Queta Rodriguez, as well as Luisa Tapia. Now welcome another long-standing partner with LULAC on behalf of Comcast, the Executive Director of External Affairs, Jackie Puente.
Hi everyone, it's Jackie Puente. I'm the Executive Director for External Affairs at Comcast, NBC Universal, Telemundo, and Sky. And on behalf of our whole team, I'm so happy to be with you for this LULAC virtual conference. It's an honor and a privilege to work with LULAC leaders and councils across the country, especially as we're coming together to tackle some of the greatest health and economic crises during the COVID-19 pandemic. And one area where I've been very involved working with LULAC is on digital equity and helping to close the digital divide, which has been made so much more evident to all of us during COVID-19. During the last 10 years, we had created a program called Internet Essentials. Originally, it was to help families with kindergartner through 12th grade children get online through the free and reduced school lunch program. And with LULAC's partnership, Comcast has been able to expand Internet Essentials many times over. We've made almost 40 improvements to the program to include faster speeds, more eligibility, so that veterans, seniors, people in public housing can all get online and cross over the digital divide. This work is not possible without the LULAC leaders and councils that are on the ground in communities. They're trusted resources, friends, family that can help show somebody the benefit of being online, especially now when we need to be online for distance learning, telehealth, and the digital economy. As we're rolling into our 10th year of Internet Essentials, and I know I'm talking about this all the time, I'm so proud that Comcast is doubling down on our commitment to digital equity. And we're doing this in a few great ways. One way, we're introducing faster speeds for Internet Essentials. So now the 50/5 download speed will be so much faster for families that have multiple kids learning or multiple people working from home. We've introduced unlimited data for Internet Essentials customers, and we're doubling down on our Wi-Fi hotspots and lift zones that are safe places for people to go to get connected online. This is greater community investment that we hope will uplift all of our members in our community and help Latino families across the country. And I do hope that you'll all share that information in your networks and let people know about the opportunities that exist through Internet Essentials. Finally, I want to thank Cindy Benavides and the entire LULAC Board of Directors and staff for their outstanding and unwavering commitment to help families during this time. I'm awed and inspired by their tireless work. It's not easy, and there are just so many stressful things happening in our world, but I am so impressed that Cindy and the LULAC leadership continue to push forward to make our community stronger, healthier, and safer at this time. Thank you for all that you do, and have a wonderful conference.
Thank you, Comcast. Introducing our next video highlight of the great work LULAC does for the Latino community, please welcome LULAC's National Programs Manager, Sandra Caraveo.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Caraveo, the National Program Manager for LULAC. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, LULAC quickly mobilized our network of LULAC councils and volunteers to give back to communities that have been severely impacted by COVID-19. We quickly became aware of the enormous burden that this pandemic has had on the Latino community and actively took steps to provide relief and assistance where it has been needed the most. LULAC created the COVID-19 Relief Fund to support general aid, fight hunger, provide technology, mental health support, and educational services for students. LULAC offered stipends to councils and partners around the country and in Puerto Rico to help aid communities. Through our efforts, we've been able to come together and impact the lives of more than 43,000 families across the country. Additionally, we've been able to engage over 130 LULAC councils and hold over 170 individual events with more than 53 partners. Over 500 laptops were provided to underserved communities, and more than 20,000 food boxes have been given out to those in need. Additionally, we provided over 1,000 Lyft rides to essential workers throughout the country.
What makes LULAC so important now? Advocacy, action, and programs that touch the lives of millions of Latinos in very real ways. It was spring 2020, and something new called the coronavirus was beginning its deadly sweep across America. Infections were starting to spread, fear was growing, the economy was shutting down, and furloughs were rampant. People had many questions, and LULAC saw there were few answers and even less in Spanish. That's when Team LULAC stepped up and created in record speed Ayuda en Español, one of the nation's first Spanish-language one-stop information resource and referral platforms, social services, health updates, technology, and up-to-date educational tools all in one location. An easy-to-navigate site with explainers on COVID-19 and its impact on multi-generational Latino households, including those at highest risk, the chronically sick and seniors. Then LULAC achieved another significant milestone, a multi-platform media and communications campaign that broke new ground. For the first time, COVID-19 messaging was centered around culturally familiar images, words, and phrases. The results? More than 250,000 impressions using an array of platforms, including Spotify, Pandora, and local radio stations. Also, YouTube and video streaming platform homepages across the United States and Puerto Rico. They were joined by celebrities including Eva Longoria, Danny Trejo, journalist Mariana Atencio, LAFC MLS Soccer Club. Ayuda en Español turned adversity into an opportunity for LULAC to face and overcome the challenge.
Our work here is not done. It would not be possible with the help of our LULAC councils and volunteers. A sincere thank you to Mr. Pedro Zamora, CEO of Promotores Unidos, and Mr. Euler Torres, CEO of Latin Entertainment Network USA, who are also our Medal of Honor recipients. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Zamora and Mr. Torres. Thank you so much.
Hello, my friends. This is Pedro Zamora, President of Promotores Unidos USA. I want to thank Mr. Domingo Garcia, President of LULAC, to help us create this alliance between Constellation Brands, Promotores Unidos USA, and LULAC. With this alliance, we were able to help over 6,000 families in 8 regions of the United States, totaling over $400,000 with credit cards for each family ranging from $40 to $65 to buy groceries to put some food on their tables during these pandemic times. With the Alliance of Mecenas, we were also able to help over 13,000 families with a food basket also for their tables. After the earthquake in Mexico, with Promotores Unidos USA, we were able to build 12 complete houses with 2 bedrooms on each house in Jojutla, Morelos, Mexico. These are just some of many initiatives that we do for our communities, thanks to Promotores Unidos USA, a nonprofit organization in the US. I also want to thank Mr. Domingo Garcia for these recognitions. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Euler Torres, President of LULAC Council 3273, Valle San Joaquin. We are located in Central California. Our main focus is music. We focus in teaching local youth regional Mexican music. We teach them the acordeon, the bajo sexto. So we are a very cultural-based council here in California with the hope to create a music program that goes across the country. And with that, being part of the regional music industry, we were able to connect LULAC with Promotores Unidos and create a wonderful outreach program to feed 6,000 families all across the U.S. I'm also part of a new organization, which I'm now CEO. It's called LUNUSA, which is the Latin Entertainment Network USA, where we will be able to contact directly through music our communities when it comes to COVID and vaccinations and any type of outreach. We are going to be the go-to agency to go for that. So I am very excited to be here, and thank you, President Garcia, for this recognition. My name is Euler Torres. Thank you once again.
Now, welcome another great sponsor, Charter Communications, and Laura Berrocal, Vice President, Policy and External Affairs.
Thank you. So happy to be joining everyone virtually this evening. It's hard to believe that this very day, back in 1929, the country's largest and oldest Latino organization was born. During this relentless global pandemic that we find ourselves in, LULAC has been presente, serving, educating, and supporting the Latino community. For many, things that were once certain are not so certain anymore. We're all facing unique as well as everyday challenges. For some families, students, and workers across the country, internet access can be a challenge. For this reason, connecting as many communities as possible with critical broadband connectivity during these uncertain times is Charter's #1 priority. This month, Charter announced the launch of a multi-year $5 billion broadband build-out initiative that will deliver gigabit high-speed broadband to 1 million unserved customer locations, including many in rural areas. This private investment is offset by $1.2 billion in support won from the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. Charter is excited about this public-private partnership and opportunity to expand broadband access to more unserved communities. This new broadband expansion will reach 24 states, and it will enable Charter to hire 2,000 employees and contractors to support build-out into these newly served communities. As a result of our investment, our network will provide broadband access to an additional 1 million homes and businesses. Charter also continues to help families stay connected, even when facing difficult economic circumstances. Our remote education offer and Spectrum Internet Assist programs are addressing the affordability gap and putting broadband services within reach for more Americans. LULAC is fortunate to have a CEO that understands all the steps involved in getting communities connected. Cindy Benavides is one of the most committed leaders that I have had the pleasure to work with and is always looking for ways to advance digital inclusion. We are so proud to have a partner and friend in Cindy, as well as her team and the LULAC Board of Directors. On behalf of the Charter Communications family, LULAC, thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Charter Communications. Once again, welcome LULAC National President Domingo Garcia.
Buenas noches. I want to take you back a little bit in time, back to February 2020, back when everybody was a lot healthier. The world was different. And then we got a call from our Colorado State Director about people getting sick at a meatpacking plant in Greenlee, Colorado. And we contacted them and said, find out what's going on. They said some mysterious disease was causing workers to get sick, some flu type issue, and that they had no protection and no help. The very next week, I got a call that 78-year-old Raul Sanchez, a worker who had been there over 30 years at a JBS packing plant in Greeley, Colorado, had gotten sick and had passed away, and his family wanted answers. So we drove, our Colorado State Director drove to Greeley, Colorado. I flew to Greeley, Colorado. We asked to meet with the CEO of the company and to visit the pack, the first independent organization to do so. And let me tell you, if you've never been in a meatpacking plant, it is one of those most difficult things you'll ever see. This is the type of work that only Latinos and immigrants and refugees do. It's backbreaking, it's congested, it's cold. You're basically shoulder to shoulder cutting those steaks that you're going to eat on the table. And we were concerned about that type of environment for these workers. As a result of that, we initiated calls to the governor of Colorado, the local OSHA office, and that plant was closed down. But not after 8 workers had died, hundreds had gotten sick, immediately hospitalized. And then eventually we found out that COVID had arrived. We knew about it in the beginning. As a result of that, LULAC took quick action. We sent letters to the 5 largest meatpacking plants, warning them of the dangers and asking for specific changes to be made. Among them, providing PPE, protection for all workers, plexiglass to divide them, slowing down the lines of production, providing sick pay for those workers who tested positive, providing on-site testing. And as a result of that, we've saved lives as many of the companies came forward and made those changes. Unfortunately, many took too long and too many people suffered as a result of that. We've now seen the impact of that across the country. So as we go into 2021, LULAC continues to work not only in the meatpacking areas, but with the farm workers and with educators and the other essential workers that are the ones that are putting those vegetables on their table, that are delivering them to those grocery stores, and are making sure that we are healthy and otherwise taken care of, whether those are educators or the nurses or doctors. As we go here forward into the 2021, we will make sure that our families are taken care of. The Jose and Maria on the street get the help and support they need from the stimulus packages and from small business loans so that they can continue to thrive and grow in this very difficult crisis that we're in. LULAC knows about crises. Since 1929, we've been fighting them. And as we go, we need to make sure the census is reopened so that our numbers are counted accurately. We need to make sure that redistricting is done fairly so that Latino population are reflected in their strength in Congress and in state houses and in local city councils and school districts. We can do this, but it takes all of us working together to make sure that the Latino voice, the voice of Jose and Maria, is heard everywhere, that they are not forgotten, that just because they were a maid like my mother, or they were a farm worker like my father, that they were not people to be marginalized or be considered disposable people. And that is our goal, to make sure everybody achieves the potential of their talents, that everybody has the social justice and the equality of opportunity that they deserve. And we will continue to do that. And we want to thank all of you who have helped us make 2020 a year that we were able to help a lot of people. And in 2021, we'll continue our tradition since 1929 of being the voice of the Latino community in the United States of America and Puerto Rico. Muchísimas gracias y buenas noches.
LULAC is helping improve safety for our country's essential food production workers. This includes nearly 500,000 people in the beef, pork, and chicken processing industries, all hit hard by COVID-19. The work on the lines is strenuous, and the conditions are noisy, fast, and they demand constant attention to avoid injury or worse. The pandemic preys on people in closed environments, breathing shared air. When coronavirus is present, droplets can drift, infecting clusters of workers. LULAC is the only civil rights organization that has gone inside multiple facilities in states throughout the U.S. to see up close the challenges Feeding America have created for the largest meat producers in the country. LULAC is helping communities where meatpackers live beyond changes at the plants. A new LULAC outreach campaign focuses on these essential workers with practical tips about safety practices at home and in public. This groundbreaking know-how LULAC is developing sheds new understanding on how to reach, engage, and win a pledge commitment for the COVID vaccine, which promises to reduce infections and deaths. LULAC's only priority is worker safety, and it's fighting for meatpacking and food production employees from the fields and factories to store clerks be included among the nation's essential workers prioritized for vaccination. This is a battle that will continue for the foreseeable future as we all confront together an elusive and fast-changing enemy virus. LULAC is committed to be on the front line, leading the charge to beat it. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors: NBC Universal Comcast Telemundo, Charter Communications, T-Mobile, 1-800-CONTACTS, and Herbalife. And presenting sponsor, AT&T. Thank you for your support. Now to present our next award of the evening, please welcome LULAC's Chief Executive Officer, Cindy Benavides.
I am truly honored to present our next award of the evening to Stacey Abrams. She's a political leader, voting rights activist, and a New York Times best-selling author, just to name a few of her accomplishments. De verdad que es un honor. This fearless leader has celebrated many firsts. Stacey was the first Black woman to become a gubernatorial nominee for a major political party in the United States, and the first Black woman and first Georgian to deliver a response to the State of the Union. Before becoming the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia in 2018, she served for 11 years in the Georgia House of Representatives, and know that she created impact. She also served 7 years as a Democratic leader. This innovative, forward-thinking leader doesn't wait for change to happen. She creates it. She launched Fair Fight in 2020, an initiative to fund and train voter protection teams in 20 battleground states with the overarching aim of a fair fight focused on ensuring that every American has a voice in our electoral system. And that's just one of the multiple organizations she's founded. Stacey also knows and understands the power of our right to vote, and she works diligently every single day to make sure people of color know and understand it too. Tenemos que saber nuestro poder. If that weren't enough, in addition to her New York Times bestsellers, she's also written 8 romantic suspense novels under the pseudonym of Selena Montgomery. There is nothing that Stacey Abrams can't do. No one can tell Stacey that she is on a mission, that there is a limit to her achievement, because she will break all types of barriers in record speed. Now, this HBCU graduate can add Nobel Peace Prize nominee to her impressive and inspiring list of accomplishments. Please help me in presenting the LULAC National Freedom and Justice Award to Stacey Abrams. Stacey, hermana en la lucha, thank you for all that you do every day. Stacey.
Hello to the League of United Latin American Citizens, President Garcia, and everyone coming together for the National Legislative Awards Gala. I am honored to be joining you all and to receive LULAC's highest honor, the Freedom and Justice Award. I grew up in the Deep South, in a family best described as working poor, but with parents committed to justice. They raised me and my 5 siblings to serve those who had been left out and left behind. And while our communities hold different histories and diverse stories, we share a common struggle to obtain equal justice under the law and the freedom to live up to each of our God-given potentials. And that is just what LULAC helps accomplish. For 92 years, this organization has been working to make real the promise of America for the Latino community. You anchor your work in educational attainment, political influence, accessible, affordable housing and healthcare, and protecting the civil rights of Hispanic Americans, while you pave the way towards a more perfect union. LULAC is constantly bringing more Americans into the fold of our democratic process by championing civic participation among Latino voters. It is this commitment to advancing the opportunity and power of all people that serves as our collective North Star. As part of the reason I launched Fair Fight, to promote free and fair elections. And I also created Fair Count to ensure an accurate count in and usage of the 2020 census. Now more than ever, we must all be in the fight. Because as the new American majority increases its strength in numbers and political clout, We will also confront demagogic backlash from those who seek to weaponize racist tropes to hold on to waning power. Over the last several years, we have witnessed a Latino community under assault. Family separations, census disinformation, outright attacks on lives and livelihoods have plagued our society and left an indelible mark on the American psyche. Many now question the possibility of progress, and for good reason. The struggle feels never ending, and the light of hope is sometimes dim. And I will tell you, I know the act of voting can feel trivial and inadequate, but I know that these actions bring us closer to equity and equality. Voting is the first step in a long and complex process, tedious but vital. And while these actions will not save us from harm, LULAC knows that silence will surely damn us all. America is a republic that relies on representative democracy to choose who guides our government. And for the vast majority of us, then, voting is the one lever we have, the only one we have to pull in the setting of the future of our towns, our state, and our nation. Voting is not only our right, it is proof that perseverance works. Not perfectly, not always, but enough. Our history can disappoint us and make us disillusioned about our present, but within each of us lies the ability to write the next chapter of our future. This future ought to be one where no matter your creed, race, ethnicity, or religion, you have the power to rise above and make a difference. And we know this power is real because we just proved it when we stood up and collectively used our voices and our votes in the 2020 election and the Georgia Senate runoff election. In Georgia alone on November 3rd, we witnessed a 72% increase in Latino voter turnout compared to 2016. Years of hard work by Latino change makers has led us to this moment where we have the opportunity to implement sweeping change. With persistence and focus, we can transform the lives of millions of Latino Americans. Organizations like Fair Fight, Mi Gente, the Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights, and others have recalibrated our sense of the possible. Today, we have renewed proof of what we can accomplish when we invest early and organize often. By electing President Biden and delivering a Democratic Congress, we have seen DACA fortified, border wall construction halted, and family reunification task forces established, and a United States Citizenship Act proposed. Our challenge now is to not only maintain the pressure on our elected officials, but make real the change we wish to see by starting in our own communities. The truth is, you don't need to be in a position of power or authority to fix the broken places. Instead, we must demand our electoral rights and refuse to allow anyone to steal our voices or our choices. Across the country in state legislatures, the purveyors of voter suppression are already back at work, trying to roll back the clock on access to the ballot box. And nowhere will these efforts be more determined than in silencing communities of color like ours. The 2020 elections may be over, but the fight continues. And LULAC will continue to be a warrior for free and fair elections and demanding equal access to the right to vote, because holding on to what we have and demanding more requires that we keep going back to the ballot, back to the streets, and back to the halls of power. All of the issues we care about begin and end with the leaders we choose. They must know we are holding them accountable for progress on racial justice, immigration reform, affordable quality health care, environmental justice, affordable housing, and more. But we must also be known as the ones willing to have their backs when they do good. Justice will not be easily won without a robust, vibrant, multi-hued democracy. But with organizations like LULAC in the fight, justice will prevail. So let's get it done. Thank you and gracias.
Presenting our next award of the evening, please welcome LULAC National Vice President of Young Adults, Andres Rodriguez.
Our next honoree needs no introduction. Dolores Huerta is an icon. The legendary community organizer is the president and founder of the Dolores Huerta Foundation. In 1962, she co-founded the United Farm Workers of America with Cesar Chavez and played a critical role in many of the union's accomplishments for 4 decades. In 2012, President Barack Obama awarded her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States. And just this year, she was named one of USA Today's Women of the Century and received Glamour magazine's Women of the Year award. I am truly honored to present tonight's Lifetime Impact Award to none other than Dolores Huerta.
Hello, everybody. This is Dolores Huerta, and I am here to congratulate LULAC for all of the great work that you've been doing, especially during the pandemic, in exposing the injustices to the meatpacking workers as you did, and speaking up for farm workers also, and for all of our community, in addition to all of the great work that you do on the political front with the youth, your youth organizations, and all of the justice work on health and economics, all of the great things that you've been doing for the Latino community. And of course, I want to personally thank you for giving me the award that you have given me, the National Impact Award. And I also want to congratulate all of the wonderful honorees that you have here today, starting with Congressman Filemon Vela from Texas, who is getting the Justice and Freedom Award. And of course, also Congressman Raul Ruiz from California, whom I know very well and who we know is fighting very, very hard to pass the immigration reform bill in the Congress. And of course, the great Stacey Abrams from Georgia, because I know that Stacey is going to lead the way and show us what we have to do to stop the voter suppression that we have to stop in our country. And Stacey, maybe we can do in Texas what you did in Georgia, because we know that there is a lot of voter suppression in Texas, that people still have a hard time registering to vote, and they have a lot of obstacles for people to be able to register to vote. And then, of course, least but not least, of course, we also want to congratulate Ms. Ana Luisa Tapia, because she is receiving the National Service Award. So it's so wonderful to be here with all of these great heroes and these leaders in our community, because we know that we're going to be having a hard time getting so much of our legislation passed. And of course, we've got to focus on the Immigration Act, the reform for immigration, which we know so many of our Latinos need in our community, especially our undocumented folks. And yes, for the PEOPLE Act, and this is HR 1, which is really going to get rid of so many of these obstacles that people have right now, like the one I referred to in Texas, where people don't have a hard time getting even registered to vote. And, you know, all of these purging of the voter rolls, finally getting some kind of public campaign reform so that we as individuals can really help in making sure that we can take the money out of politics. And I don't want to leave out the Equal Rights Amendment for women, because that's another one. But I know that LULAC, working together with our organization, the Dolores Huerta Grassroots Foundation, because we're kind of doing the same work that you are doing in all of the areas that you work, like in housing and health and political empowerment. So together, we can reach out to the rest of the organization. And yes, we've got to continue to build our justice movement. And we know that working together that we can make it happen. Si se puede, yes, we can. Que viva LULAC.
Congresswoman Deb Haaland made history when President Joe Biden chose her to serve as the first Native American cabinet secretary and head of the Department of Interior. The former chairwoman of the Democratic Party of the New Mexico was one of the first 2 Native American women elected to the U.S. Congress. From a military kid who attended 13 different public schools due to moving throughout the country during her father's military service, to a single mother who volunteered at her daughter's preschool in order to afford an early childhood education, Congresswoman Haaland understands the challenges of everyday life for many New Mexicans and Americans overall because she lived it. She overcame those obstacles and earned degrees from the University of New Mexico and the UNM Law School. In 2014, she became the first Native American woman to be elected to lead the state party after running for New Mexico Lieutenant Governor. She used the platform to stand side by side with the Standing Rock community to protect tribal sovereignty and advocate battle natural resources. Her exceptional leadership is one of to be inspired as she now takes one of the pivotal role in the Biden administration. It is with great honor that I introduce Congresswoman Deb Haaland.
Hello, everyone. I'm Deb Haaland, proud member of Laguna Pueblo and very proud representative for New Mexico's 1st Congressional District. I'm grateful for the opportunity to join you all for this year's LULAC National Legislative Awards Gala and share a few words with everyone. As we celebrate the 92nd anniversary of LULAC's founding, I want to thank you all for the hard work you've done to advance the civil rights of Latinx communities across the country. Organizations like LULAC are vital now more than ever. The pandemic has revealed deep cracks in healthcare, economic opportunities, and support that rise from a history of institutional racism. Over this pandemic, I worked with a Congressional Hispanic Caucus to ensure that communities of color have access to testing, contact tracing, and vaccines. We must not forget the fact that Latinx and Hispanic communities are essential and have kept all of our communities running during this challenging time. Those being honored at today's gala have demonstrated exceptional leadership, especially in the midst of these difficult times. Whether in a school board meeting or a congressional committee hearing, representation in leadership during times like these is extremely important. As a member of Congress, it's my goal to speak up for those who don't have a voice and ensure we all have a seat at the decision-making table. Even more important is the responsibility to leave the ladder down for the next generation of leaders so we prepare those who we will eventually pass the torch on to. I know you'll continue to serve all of us with pride and dedication. Be fierce, and thank you so much again for having me here today.
Congratulations to the Honorable Deb Haaland. Now, please welcome the Commissioner of LULAC's Women's Commission, Alexa Rodriguez.
Buenas noches. I'm honored to introduce our next speaker for the evening. Cindy Marisol Benavides is a woman who uses her national platform and informative voice to speak on behalf of those who are often silent. She is a Honduran American immigrant who devotes her career to public services, ensuring that countless young people, women, and immigrants have the same opportunity. Cindy is a truly inspiring woman who stopped at nothing to continuously advocate for the Latino community in this country. In the past year, she has been vocal about the Vanessa Guillen investigation, the impact COVID-19 has had on the Latino community, and fighting for rights of meatpacking plants and agricultural workers, among many other things. Cindy knows firsthand how important it is for our voices to be represented on the ground with grassroots initiative and all the way up to the Capitol Hill. She's a daughter, a mother, a wife, and a leader who leads by example through her work as the Chief Executive Officer for LULAC. Please help me in officially welcoming LULAC first female, first immigrant, and first millennial CEO, Cindy Benavides.
Good evening y buenas noches to our honorable, distinguished elected officials, esteemed guests, and respected LULAC members. LULAC was founded on February 17, 1929 in Corpus Christi, Texas. Tonight is a very special moment in the history of LULAC as we are on the eve of our 92nd anniversary. We celebrate 92 years of resilience, unity, and impact. Tonight, we celebrate our members, the heart and soul of LULAC. The 1920s were not too dissimilar from what we have been enduring in recent years. Dispossession of land owned by Latinos of Mexican ancestry was common. Their children were denied access to education at many, mostly white public schools. Only certain jobs and areas to live were accessible to our Mexicanos Americanos. And yes, public lynchings for manufactured alleged crimes or even without formal charges were frequent. Yet, like then, the work of LULAC is vitally important. COVID-19 has cast a harsh light on the historical inequities of our society. This includes lack of essential medical care, as well as preventative health instruction and assistance for a better quality of life. Then, when acute care becomes the final option and life and death is in the balance, we have been seeing the blatant denial of treatment. This has led not only to a higher rate of infection, twice that of our percentage of population, also a disproportionately higher rate of deaths which could have been avoided. This is the face of systemic racism today. I am proud to lead such a prominent legacy organization as LULAC at this moment in our history and lifetime. I'm so proud to be able to join with longtime coalitions and forge new ones to achieve that collective attainment of rights. Indeed, women in leadership are at the forefront of change in this country and in movements. From this position, I am privileged to hold with LULAC to the growing number of women in Congress, and yes, all the way up to the office of Vice President of the United States, we are making our presence felt. Women leaders are vital, especially when we're still facing injustices in our country against women, especially women of color. Such was the case of soldier Vanessa Guillen. Her legacy shall be that out of her tragic passing, change is taking place. Those serving in the military will be safe to defend our country, and LULAC's role is to hold our military institutions accountable for their safety. This is the work of LULAC. This is what we do every day, to protect and to defend. Also, having our voices heard is not enough. We must be in decision-making positions across all industries, por lo menos el 20%. LULAC stands at the front lines of the fight against COVID-19 and the impact it's had on Latino communities. LULAC supports free COVID-19 testing and treatment to anyone who needs it. LULAC is ensuring that healthcare and economic assistance during this pandemic includes our most vulnerable and our undocumented community. LULAC is making sure, without regard to immigration status, that everyone has the opportunity to be tested and treated for COVID-19, because we know that COVID-19 does not discriminate. And LULAC is demanding that healthcare facilities are immigration enforcement-free zones for the duration of the outbreak. LULAC supports access to vaccine for all as they become available. Allow me to tell you why these measures are so important. COVID-19 has claimed the lives of thousands of Latinos, from our elderly to our children. Since January 2021, Latinos have made up 18.1% of COVID-19 deaths. Latinos are highly exposed to the virus as essential workers, because 5 in 6 Latinos must leave their houses every day to work and get paid. Also, this population suffers from inequities in income, healthcare access, access to food, and more. Poverty rates also play a large role, as do fears of impact on daily life. Latino undocumented immigrants often don't benefit from unemployment aid or stimulus checks. Neither do they have the privilege to have paid sick leave. COVID-19 has destroyed communities and caused massive distress, which creates even more mental health issues in our communities. So what are we doing about all of this? LULAC is creating new ways to support the most vulnerable communities and make sure that they're not forgotten during this unprecedented time. We must meet our community where they are. trailblazing with Ayuda en Español, or Help in Spanish, one of the first comprehensive toolkits available to our Spanish-speaking communities. Our messaging has reached over 8 million people. LULAC Relief touched 130 councils and engaged 1,700 LULAC volunteers who were able to reach more than 43,000 recipients in aid across the country. LULAC's support of meatpacking plant workers, agricultural workers, grocery store workers, delivery workers, and more will continue because during this pandemic, they have kept our nation nourished by working to get food from the farms and meat packing plants to the grocery store shelves and to our tables. These are the workers who do not have the option of working from home, or our nation would suffer a great food shortage. Yet, their lives are not held at the highest regard as it should be. Let's be clear, our essential workers are our heroes. Just a few days ago, tragedy struck our Latino worker community very hard in Gainesville, Georgia, where a nitrogen killed 6 workers and injured scores of others. We immediately kicked into action with a response team to create awareness nationally around what was happening, assessing what the families needed, and working with our members and other organizations on the ground in Georgia to help. Those workers were allegedly told to remain silent about the leak and not speak to reporters, and this is unacceptable. It is why LULAC uses its platform to voice the concern of this community to the nation. We cannot be silent. LULAC will continue to bring their voice, and we're setting up a command center in Georgia to continue to monitor and be involved in the investigation and relief. There's so much more that we're doing, and I'm sure that with President Garcia, our esteemed National Board, state directors, council presidents, and LULAC members across the country, we will get things done. The LULAC family is on the move, and we are committed that with God's help, the continued support of our wonderful partners and you, the people across the United States and Puerto Rico, we will prevail. I want to take a moment to thank our partners. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, AT&T, and to other sponsors like Comcast, Charter Communications, T-Mobile, 1-800-CONTACTS, and Herbalife. Thank you for joining us. Los apreciamos a cada y uno de ustedes. We appreciate you one and all. As I've said before, LULAC will never stop, we will never be silent, and LULAC will never compromise on its mission. Yes, we are resilient, resolved, and ready to push on. We shall overcome even when we walk through the valley, and we will stand with our heroes and with our Latino community across America. Muchísimas gracias for joining us tonight. Y que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Now I'm excited to introduce our entertainment for the first ever LULAC Legislative Virtual Awards Gala. These 3 gifted Latina singer-songwriters deliver songs of love, desperation, songs of borders and walls, and yearning for a new life, as well as songs of family, celebration, and sisterhood. With a vibrant bilingual fusion of Tex-Mex songs and stories, Tish Hinojosa, Stephanie Urbina-Jones, and Patricia Levan create a collaborative sound all their own. Please help me welcome the Texicana Mamas.
Hola, mis amigos. My name is Stephanie Urbina Jones.
I'm Tish Hinojosa. I'm Patricia Vaughn.
And we are
the Texicana Mamas.
Muchísimas gracias, LULAC, for inviting us to be a part of this historic virtual gala.
The Texicana Mamas are honored to be with you this evening. Es un gran honor presentar nuestra música para LULAC. Vamos a cantar en armonía, vamos a vivir la vida en paz, viajar por el mundo sonriente, con este regalo dignidad, aunque
que pierdaremos suerte de abundancia. Acuérdate de no soltar la fe. Joyas brillarán en su corona, con la fuerza viene su poder. Guardaremos el camino, buscaremos la felicidad, subiremos juntos la montaña, donde descubrimos la verdad. Every moment is a living prayer. You see, the music of life is everywhere. Butterflies are born and the tulips sing. Hallelujah, every spring. There are seeds of hope and silver linings. Darkness will give way to the sun shining.
This next song is called Amigas de Corazón. This is about sisterhood. Amigas. Amigas, familia. And you can do a big grito with us here.
1, 2, 3.
Some fun. I need mis hermanas, amigas de corazón. Like Frida and Diego, like Sotonero, a telenovela of love. I'm low on dinero, I've lost my novio, I need some help from above. Ay, mis amigas, let's go have some fun. I need mis hermanas, amigas de corazón. Anytime, anywhere, you know I'll be there. 24/7, you know that I can.
Our Latino resilience has carried us through racist spews of thick-drawled hatred, in fruit field plantations and meat-packed enslavement. With odds stacked, we learned how to fight back. Our elders did not die without teaching us that, while keeping the spirit of those we've lost in this pandemic intact. We know we are descendants of both the enslaver and the enslaved. But within our own blood, peace must be made. This is how we grow in America, our home. Our collective spirit could never be diminished. We remain on this mission using strength to transform the division into a land that embraces the innocent and defends helpless victims, holding accountable those that took all our Vanessa Guillens, awakening the world to respect our Black and brown women. Our history lives in the languages. 250 years before English was ever spoken here, on these lands, ancestral hands worked too hard to point out the irony of what had begun dominating our tongues. Broken lips were split for speaking First Nation dialects, where language was colonized by one and enslaved by the other. Does anyone know the indigenous words for love of another? We try to understand the roots of Latin words used in America like e pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, but when words don't match actions, the interpretation seems to mean out of many races, one to reign supreme. Misusing words turn to hate, embracing no one with a melanated face. The painful truth has been a disgrace. Still we find the grace to replace the sadness with a smile each day, using love to drive out hate like we were taught by Dr. MLK. We've been considered a threat to those that live in Dixie La La Land, who believe Kentucky is American as apple pie. It's actually the apple of its eye. Kentucky is a word in Iroquois, meaning land of tomorrow, and tomorrow has arrived. All these names like Tennessee, rooted in Creek and Cherokee, Texas, Kansas, Wyoming, real American history is worth knowing. Colorado means red, and Nevada snowing. They've been spoken so fast, but if we say the names slowly, we will feel the ancestral energy that for centuries they've been disowning. Our self-respect is connected to something much deeper, this land and its people, where we all are created equal. We will stand up for our rights while keeping our cultures alive and share with the world our recipe for Americano pie.
Thank you to you, the audience, for joining us this evening for the LULAC's first ever virtual Legislator Awards Gala. It has been an honor to serve her as a co-host with Eli Vasquez. Muchísimas gracias.
Likewise, Aurelia, it has been a true pleasure co-hosting this inspiring event with you. And congratulations to all our honorees and to Congresswoman Deb Haaland. Thank you.
And a special thank you to all the sponsors that helped to make this memorable night possible. NBC Universal, Comcast, Telemundo, Charter Communication, T-Mobile, 1-800-CONTACTS, and Herbalife. And presenting sponsor, AT&T.
And if y'all haven't done so already, please join LULAC in the fight for justice, equality, and inclusion for the Latino community. So you know what that means. That means text LULAC to 52886 and complete your sign up to receive updates and information on how to take action. As we continue navigating through these uncertain times, remember to show love and to be kind to one another. We're all being impacted by this pandemic, and we will get through this together. Buenas noches, everyone. Thank you so much.